Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Mukham karoti vachanam pangam anvayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatadam. So we are going to hear, we heard different things already, different important things, many important things we heard. We are going to continue hearing a little bit the pastime of Krishna. And we have taken some excerpts from the Stavamala, which is a compilation by Srila Rupa Goswami. There is a part in the Stavamala where Srila Rupa Goswami summarizes the pastimes of Krishna. So naturally, it begins with the appearance of Krishna. Namah Sri Krishnaya. So he offers his obeisances to Krishna. And as part, we are going to hear a part of his Mangala-charana, invocation, before he begins chanting pastime. So he says, Danuja Trinakadam Bhutta Manabhagnirase Kusumita Ravikanyati Davanya Kahindra Madakala Pashupari Uchanai Varenyo Bhavatu Tava Charitram Bhaktiram Mandanaya. He's addressing Krishna. He is addressing him as Davagni. What is that? The fire. He says, "Oh, forest fire, for the proud groups of grass-like demons." So he's trying to bring in auspiciousness before hearing the pastimes of Krishna. And here he says that the demons are just like grass, dry grass. And when Krishna's pastimes are chanted, then they act like a forest fire. And they burn all these demons, including the demons we heard in our own hearts. This demoniac mentality which is in our heart. And usually because of that demoniac mentality, we are very proud. Why are we proud? Because we are ignorant. We are very stupid. We didn't understand anything about anything. So, and then he says, "Oh, elephant," goes Krishna, an elephant. "Oh, elephant in the flowering forest on the bank of the Yamuna." So this brings in mind the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram, playing on the banks of Yamuna in the forest of Raj. Many times, and the descriptions are, Krishna and Balaram, they are just like two young elephants. And when they walk together, they look a bit like intoxicated elephants. Then he says, "Oh moon, for the blue lotus eyes of the gopis, mad with prema." So now Krishna is also the lover of the gopis. So this is actually an introduction to the pastimes. What does Krishna do? He kills the demons. He plays with the cowherd boys. And then he has pastimes with the gopis. Pramada, this word is used. They are mad. The gopis are mad. They run away from home in the middle of the night. They don't know anybody. They don't know their children, their husband, their in-laws, their nothing. They just run. And their eyes are described as blue. Why? Because they're always thinking of Krishna. May your pastimes decorate my words. So this is the prayer of Srila Prabhupada before chanting the pastimes of Krishna. Now there is a second verse. Mulodkhata vidhayini bhavataro Krishnaya Trishnaksaya Kheladhemuli chakravaka jayena chamyamana muhu Karna nandikala svana svahatu meji patati pravdare Gurna tunga rasamalistava kathapi yushakalolini. O Krishna, may the sweet river of your pastimes, the Katha, Krishna Katha, is compared to a river. May the sweet river of your pastimes flow on my tongue. This Katha, it uproots the tree of samsara by destroying other tastes. The tongue, Prabhupada says, has two functions. One is that it can taste, and the other is it can speak and sing. So when we taste something, we get a certain type of taste. And the people of the world, they like to taste so many different things. Sometimes it takes them all the way to hell, because they are tasting what is not to be tasted. So from the tongue begin all the tastes of the material world. But when we chant the pastimes of Krishna, we get a different taste. The speaking also gives us some taste. We speak, we hear, and then we get a transcendental taste. And this makes us forget everything else in this world. Then he says that this Katha is constantly sipped. It is sipped because we said the Katha is like a river. So it is constantly sipped by the many trembling Chakravaka sages. So this is what the sages do. They constantly hear Krishna's pastimes. Like the Chakravaka birds, they are considered to be very Brahminical birds. They float on the water very gracefully. Then he says this Katha has a very gentle sound which gives bliss to the ears, and it is full of great currents. What are the currents? The Katha is a river, and within that river there are many currents that take us this way, that way. This is not like the currents of the samsara. These are the currents of rasa. When we hear the pastimes of Krishna, sometimes we become attracted. Oh, so beautiful. We see Yashoda, and she's taking Krishna on her lap, and she's looking at his face, and he's looking back at her, and we kind of get some images in our mind. And then we can feel this Vatsalya a little bit. And then we hear the pastimes of Krishna climbing on the trees, jumping in the Yamuna. And everybody is so scared because there is a big, big snake in the middle of the Yamuna. And then we become afraid. But this is also rasa, because it is connected to Krishna. Then we hear the pastimes of the cowherd boys, and we imagine Krishna as our friend. And then we hear the pastimes of the gopis, and we cannot fathom the beauty of being the most intimate with Krishna, that he will put his arm around the neck of the gopis, and he will speak into their ears very secret words that will make them shy. So we are hearing these pastimes and the rasa. This especially applies, of course, to the advanced devotees. We have heard that we should chant Shuddha Nam. Of course, we have to purify our heart. But by hearing from the great devotees like Rupa, Sanatan, and others, even though we are not very advanced, still we can taste a little bit the rasa, and we can be carried away by this current. While hearing the pastimes of Krishna, we forget everything else. So now the description of the pastime will begin. Tatra Nandotsavadi Charitam. The pastime, now the interesting thing, listen, you heard the title in Sanskrit, Tatra, so now next would come, Nandotsavadi Charitam. Where does it start? In the mind of Rupa Goswami. Where does the birth of Krishna starts? From Nanda's house. No question of Mathura. This was the official birth. Somewhere in Mathura, someday, Krishna took birth. But we have heard it wasn't Krishna. It was his expansion, Vasudeva. Vasudeva took birth from Devaki and Vasudeva. Vasudeva takes birth from Vasudeva. Now let us hear where it starts here. We are actually starting from the pastimes of Krishna in Braja. And we have already heard a few hints that Krishna did not just take birth in Mathura. He also took birth in Gokula. In Gokul. He also took Nijamahima mandali prajavasati rochanam vadana vidu madhuri ramita pitrilochanam shruti nipuna bhusura prajarihita jatakam tanu jagadatatpita swadanagana jatakam. Oh, fickle mind, Srila Rupa Goswami is addressing the mind. Worship the son of Nanda, who illuminates Vraja by all his glories. Nija Mahima, his own glories. Mandali Vraja, Vasati Rochanam. So he illuminates Vraja. We know that Mathura Vrindavan is the eternal abode of Krishna. It's a manifestation of the spiritual world in this very world. We call it Bhauma Vrindavan. So it is already eternally glorious. But when Krishna takes birth, when Krishna appears, then the pastimes of the goddess of fortune begin. And then everything transforms. Everything becomes auspicious. Everything becomes opulent. Remember, Nanda Maharaj has a hard time counting his cows. They go by the millions. And in Braj, when we hear the pastimes, we hear not of marble floors, we hear of jeweled floors. We hear of gold and silver and all sorts of opulences. And not just a little bit of it, but it seems to be unlimited. Because before the Lord manifests, the Dham becomes manifest. There are two states of existence in Vrindavan. Sometimes the pastimes of Krishna are manifest, and sometimes they are not. Krishna is always in Vrindavan. And just as he manifests, then it becomes so different from what we see today. Now we are in the period where the pastimes of Krishna are unmanifest. We see dust everywhere. Hardly any tree can grow. And you see, it is quite dry. It is almost a deserted land. And when you go, I remember the first time I saw Govardhan, I was looking and I was saying, where is Govardhan? The first time I went as a brown new devotee, I had been a devotee for just like 2.5 years. And I came to Vrindavan with a great expectation. Govardhan has very high peaks and mountain caves. It has rivers. and it has waterfalls and all kinds of fruit. And I arrived and I looked and I said, where is Govardhan? Then they said, here is Govardhan in front of you. I said, really? This is Govardhan? Ah. Okay. Then they said, you can see Govardhan by hearing. Ah, I said, yes. I used the wrong instrument. I was just using my eyes. So with my eyes, I saw it seemed to be a mount of stones. They're not very high. I remember they told me that this Raghunath Das Goswami wanted to jump from the top of Govardhan here to commit suicide. And anyone who does that would just roll down to the bottom. Maybe he had never seen Govardhan with his eyes too, and he had heard from the Bhagavatam. So he was thinking, I climb on the highest peak and I commit suicide. So, Nija Mahima, the Krishna comes and his glory shines throughout Braja. Braja becomes a magical world. Then it says, Vadana Vidu Madhuri, Ramita Pitrilochanam. He pleases his parents. Ramita Pitrilochanam, the Pitri, the father, the mother. Their eyes become so pleased at the sight of Krishna. Why? His face is compared to the moon. Means very beautiful. It's roundish, and Krishna appears especially. He has a rounding face, and it is effulgent. It shines, and it takes away all the darkness. So his parents are mesmerized. Already you can see when there is a newborn in one family, the parents, they go gaga. Oh, kissy. They just look at the child endlessly. And it is true, it's very attractive. The little child is so... When the child smiles, he doesn't just smile, he goes, and he's so innocent. There is no evil in his eyes. And there is 100% dependence. So the parents are so captivated by his voice, by his face. Now imagine if that child is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, endowed with unlimited beauty, unlimited innocence, unlimited love and kindness and compassion, and a desire to just please his devotees. How mesmerized we would be. So this was the state of mind of Nanda and Yashoda. Not to speak of the fact that they hadn't had children all their life. And then when they became elderly, finally Krishna manifested. And they are also devotees, we heard, who had practiced tapasya for several lifetimes, and they practiced tapasya, and then they got a boon that you will get Krishna as your son. Actually, they wanted a son like Krishna. Then they were told there is nobody like Krishna. Asatva. Nobody is equal to him, nobody is superior to him. So if you want a son like Krishna, it can only be him himself. So then they got blessed to get Krishna life after life. And this was the third time that they were getting Krishna as their son. They were so happy. Then it says, Shruti Nipuna Bhusura Vraja Vihita Chartakam. He had his chart drawn up by the expert brahmanas of Braj. So as soon as Nanda heard, the news came. You have heard already something happened overnight. In the middle of the night, Krishna appeared. What time?
Midnight.
At midnight. Krishna appeared. He appeared in two places. He appeared in Mathura. He manifested, we heard. He did not take birth as a regular child. He manifested himself with ornaments, long hair, dress. And at the same time, in Braj, Yashodamani gave birth to 2 children. There was a boy and there was a girl. And then she fell asleep due to fatigue after childbirth. And then, by the power of Yoga Maya, she forgot everything. She forgot whether she had given birth to a boy or a girl, or a boy and a girl, or they haven't given birth at all. She just fell asleep. And then in between something happened. There was a visit in the middle of the night. Vasudev came from Mathura. It was a little difficult to enter the village of Braja, which was Gokul. It was very well protected. There were thorns and there were trenches, but somehow everything was easy. Not only all the Brijabasis were asleep, but even the dogs were asleep. Otherwise, as soon as somebody in the middle of the night, what to speak of the night, even in the day, if a stranger comes into any area, immediately the dogs will go, ooh! And they will come around and they will verify who is this. But that night, the dogs were asleep. And so he entered the house and he did something a little unethical, several unethical things. What was the first unethical thing? He entered the ladies' chambers. Not to be done. But he was guided by the Lord. He had an order. He was guided by the Lord. And he arrived in the chamber where Yashoda Mai was sleeping. She was resting. And then he didn't see anything. There was not much light. And he just put that child down. And it is explained that Vasudeva merged with Krishna. And then next to his boy, he saw there was a little girl. He took her, second thing. Who would think of sacrificing someone else's child to save one's own? Little fishy. And especially that he and Nanda, they were family members, and they were very great friends. But he was under the control of Yoga Maya. And so he could not have any sort of such thoughts. He was on a mission. He had to he had to deliver his son there to protect him. And he was told to pick up the girl. Then when Yashoda awoke, then the news, she understood that she had given birth to a baby boy. And then Nanda was informed. And he came and he saw the child. He was crying, tears of joy. As we said, the child was so resplendent. And after that, Nanda Maharaj, he went to take bath, purified himself. And then immediately, the sun rose, he called all the brahmanas, and he started having pujas done, mantras chanted. And it says even there was an initial reading of the chart of Krishna. Then it says, Tanujala Datarpita Swajanagana Chartakam. It says Krishna's body was the cloud to satisfy his Chataka bird relatives. The relatives of Krishna his parents, but then others also in Braj. They were like Chataka birds. You know what is a Chataka bird? He will not drink water, rainwater, or any water that is on the ground. He will only drink the rainwater when it falls from the sky. While he's flying in the air with his beak wide open, he tries to get the drops of water. And this is an image which is given to signify pure devotion. All the residents of Braj were pure devotees of the Lord. Some of them had descended from the eternal realm. Some of them were expansions of eternal associates of the Lord from the eternal realm. Some of them were demigods. Some of them were devotees who had attained the stage of bhava, prema, and who had taken birth in this particular universe to refine their relationship with Krishna, to be able to eternally enter his pastimes. So they were all great devotees. And in Braj, they were just like the Chataka bird. Nothing would satisfy them except the darshan of Krishna. They loved Krishna more than their own children. Natural? Yes, natural. Because our original relationship, our primary relationship, is with the root of our existence. In the Upanishads, the jiva is compared to the rays of the sun. And Krishna is the sun. And we are expansions of Krishna. Just like the sun rays emanate from the sun. The sun rays are generated from the sun, and they cannot exist on their own. Their shine, their heat, their power, it comes from the sun. Not the greatest scientist can ever cut a piece of sunshine. It cannot be separated from the sun. So this is our status. Our primary relationship is with Krishna. So here, and Krishna here is compared to a cloud. His body resembled a cloud. So Narakriti, Krishna comes in the form of a human. There is only one bizarre thing. What's the bizarre thing about him? It's the color. He looks like a human, acts like a human, he speaks like a human. There's something a bit bizarre. It's like Shyamaranga. His color is kind of bluish. Never mind. Said the Brajavasis. Never mind. He's our son. Never mind. So, then we see. Next, Srila Rupa Goswami describes. Subahu vidadana krichanaka krita kautukam nikhila pasupavali samuparita yotukam jalisamaya mandite krita purusha yoshitam rajanira sagorasa kshapanam jana joshitam. Oh, fickle mind, worship the son of Nanda, whose father gave many donations at his birth, 2 million cows. All decorated with uncle bells, with jewels on the head, with golden bells on their horns, with cross. 2 million cows. Now that's when you start thinking, wow. And not just that, it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he gave 7 hills of grains. This is the wealth of the Vaishyas. Hills means heaps, huge hills of grains. Not just simple grain. The grains were covered with jewels. And also covered with cloth, decorated with golden embroidery. If you go to Varanasi, you will discover the magical world of brocades. Cloth which is made with silver. So cloth made with golden embroidery. Such wealth. So Nanda Maharaj was giving. He was giving to the Brahmanas. But then in the end he started giving to everybody. Especially those who were singing. Some were singing the Puranas. Some were singing the histories of the great kings. Some were singing the glories of the Lord. So everybody was getting their shares. Then it says, he was offered gifts by all the cowherd people. So Nanda Maharaj gave the Dati, Pratiknati. All the Brajbasis came, they came with gifts. Gifts of what? Jewels, costly cloth, cosmetics, ghee, butter, cows. They came with all their wealth and they donated to the child who has just taken birth. And the music was going on. There was a full orchestra. The entire village became joyful. They decorated everywhere. They decorated the village. They say the Vrajapura was fully decorated with varieties of festoons, flags. They made gates with varieties of banana trees and all sorts of decorations and flowers. They made gates with cloth. They used mango leaves like we do. And that is a replacement for mango leaves in Kali Yuga. So they made so many decorations. They sprinkled everywhere with some rose-scented water. And then they decorated themselves. They put out their best clothes and best jewelry, and they became so beautiful. It is said in the Bhagavatam, the cowherd men dressed very opulently with valuable ornaments and garments, such as coats and turbans, and they were carrying various presentations in their hands. The gopis, the wives of the cowherd men, were very pleased to hear that Mother Yashoda had given birth to a son, and they began to decorate themselves very nicely with proper dresses, ornaments, black ointment on their eyes. They had lotus-like faces, naturally. They are the gopis of Vrindavan. They are the most beautiful women in the world, Srila Prabhupada says. Nothing more beautiful than the gopis of Vrindavan. They put saffron powder on their bodies and some kumkum, yellow powder. And they hurried. They were so excited. They were so excited that the flowers in their hair were falling. It is just like a cascade. There was just like a cascade of flowers on the road. And they were little plumpy, right? Because they are cowherd women. They eat a lot of makhan. And so they were moving with difficulty sometimes. But they couldn't stop themselves. Very quickly, they proceeded to the house of Nanda Maharaj. They had beautifully, brilliantly polished jewel earrings. From their necks hung metal lockets. Their hands were decorated with mangoes, making lots of noise. Their dresses were of varied colors, and from their hair, flowers fell. So this is very beautiful description. You can see such excitement in the village of Braj. Early morning, everybody is running to the house of Nanda Maharaj. Sanatana Goswami says, even the buffaloes were decorated. And Krishna was very happy. What happened then is that they came and they offered various things to Krishna. And one thing is that they smeared his body with yogurt mixed with kumkum. That is auspicious. So, and after doing that, they themselves sprinkled milk products mixed with turmeric over each other, all over. You may say, well, that's a funny festival, right? Yes. But this was their tradition. They were coward men. The wealth for them was ghee, milk, yogurt. And therefore they considered it very auspicious. They started throwing the yogurt. Who would do that? So expensive these days. They threw yogurt and it was yellow in color. So all their beautiful dresses became yellow. And it was going on, and the women were throwing on the women and the men were throwing on the men, and then they became so intoxicated that everybody was just throwing everywhere. And they were laughing and they were happy. They were experiencing rasa. Just the last little glimpse. Bahulada dipam kilim kritavila sadanganam ramadabhara lolita prakatanatananganam janaka paritoshitam spurada kirapallavam rajajanita padmajali bhavapalapallavam. O fickle mind, worship the son of Nanda, because of whom the yards became muddy with yogurt up to the knee. Sanatana Goswami says, this is quite a reliable source. You cannot deny. He says they threw so much yogurt that they were walking up to the knee in the yogurt. And then the floors, wherever they were visible, were shining because of the greasy part of the ghee. Everything was shining, and it was jeweled floors. His birth caused the women to dance conspicuously, unsteadily, with great joy. The women of Braj usually a little reserved and shy. They pull their sari on their head and they walk by. But on that day, you remember? Pramada. They were seized by madness. Krishna brought with him Ananda. They wondered, is it Krishna, did actually Nanda get a son, or did he give birth to Ananda? So there was Ananda, this transcendental energy which is different from everything else. And it enters the heart and it makes the body shake. And the women of Braj were dancing. He made everyone who were given gifts by Nanda tremble with bliss on seeing him, by whose birth the desired creeper of Lakshmi manifested in Braj. So as soon as Krishna appeared, the goddess of fortune, Sri Radha, her influence immediately began to manifest. So this is the beautiful description here. Offering blessings to the newborn child. The wives and daughters of the coward men said, "May you become the king of Braj and long maintain all its inhabitants." Hari Hari Bol. So we will stop here because time is short. So, all glories to the birth of Lord Krishna. We should today meditate on these beautiful pastimes and absorb ourselves This is different from the matters of this world. Pastimes means something which is done just for happiness, just for pleasure. There is no involvement of duty or obligations or these kind of things. This is the spiritual world. Krishna came to manifest the spiritual world. Why? Because unless he manifests the spiritual world, there is no way we can ever know about it. So Krishna most mercifully, he descends in this world to display his pastimes, to reveal his Dham, to reveal his own self, his associates, his activities. And to us who are contaminated by this modern technology and modern thoughts, it's difficult to believe. They used to tell Prabhupada, that's difficult to believe. That's hard to believe. And what was he answering? What do you know? You haven't even come out of the womb of your mother. So we are covered by the womb of material energy. When we hear these pastimes, we say that's some kind of imagination. But if we absorb ourselves in the hearing, we will find that there is a joy at the bottom of our heart, which conquers our senses and attracts our mind and makes us forget everything else. And this is the beginning, the very budding beginning of the experience of rasa. But it will take many, many, many chantings, many years. Who knows, many lifetimes. Although we are promised, if we hold on to Prabhupada's devotee, if we worship Lord Chaitanya, then very soon we shall see Krishna. Okay? So let us stop here with the Katha, and we are running slightly.